Hello, so today's video is going to be a book review of The Lost Tudor Princess, A Life of Margaret Douglas, Countess of Lennox by Alison Weir. I picked this book up when I went to Cheltenham Literature Festival. I have a book haul of that festival, which I'll leave a link for down in the description bar below if you haven't gone and watched that. I had a smashing time at Cheltenham Literature Festival. This was one of the best talks that I went to. It was absolutely fascinating, and of course it was that good. I had to go and get the book. I had to get myself a signed copy, and I've now read it. I really enjoyed it, and I thought I'd share my thoughts and feelings about the books with you guys. So the book, which looks a bit like a Chunky Monkey, it's not that big actually. A lot of it is kind of notes and appendices and things like that. The book itself is actually around 400 pages, so it's not too bad at all. I'm going to put this down now though, because it's aching my arm. So the book is about Margaret Douglas, who is Countess of Lennox. Margaret Douglas, if you don't know who she was, we'll go back in time to Henry VII. Henry VII married Elizabeth of York, and they had several children, one of which of course was Henry VIII. Another one of their children was Margaret Tudor, and Margaret Tudor had a daughter which is Margaret Douglas. So Margaret Douglas was the granddaughter of Henry VII and Elizabeth of York. She was the niece of Henry VIII. She was then cousin to like Edward VI and Mary I, Elizabeth I and all those lots. So that's her situ in the Tudor family tree, so to speak. So that's who she is. Let's talk about who she actually was as a person. So Margaret Douglas is a very interesting woman. She's absolutely fascinating. I'm so glad that she's come to the forefront of Tudor history now. She was a Catholic. She got on extremely well with Mary I. They were really good friends, kind of like best friends. And therefore, she wasn't too keen on Elizabeth, which when Elizabeth came to the throne, put her in a little bit of a pickle. She's quite clever, ambitious, but not say ambitious for herself personally. I mean, there are times where her ambitions actually get her in a lot of trouble. She ends up in the Tower of London for a couple of different reasons. One of which I was reading, I was thinking, oh, you're very lucky you didn't get your head chopped off. So at times, Margaret Douglas was a very powerful woman without actually having to do anything. She didn't even need to lift a finger, and she's a very powerful woman. There's a couple of times in her life where she was actually next in line to the throne. And that's a very powerful place to be. Her life, as I said, is fascinating. And what I actually really like about her is her ambition for her offspring. So she wants to pick the right marriage. And then once she's married, her son is Lord Darnley, who marries Mary, Queen of Scots, but then gets killed. But Lord Darnley's son and Mary Queen of Scots' son is James VI, or James I of England. So her ambition when her grandson was born was to get her grandson on the throne of England. And although she never actually lived to see him become king, it did happen. You know, she did succeed and her ambitions were successful. He did become King of England. In this book you can read all about her life, her childhood and her upbringing, the lavishness of being next in line, the scariness of times in the Tower, her love life, her children, her rivals, her ambition. It's really interesting to read all about in this book. So that's what the book is about herself. Let's talk about Alison Weir as a writer and historian. Now, Alison Weir here in England and Britain, she is a very famous historian. She's very well known, and there's a reason for that. Her writing is fabulous, and also the accessibility of her writing as well. She has this ability to write as if it makes me feel like I'm sat down, maybe in a coffee shop or somewhere, and I'm just sat down, just having a cup of tea or a cup of coffee, and she's sat opposite me, and we're literally just having a chat about Margaret Douglas's life. And she's showing me, you know, different fragments of letters and diary entries and things like that. She's passing them across the table. That is honestly what it feels like when you read the book. It's fab. It's fabulous. Something that's also great about Alison Weir's writing is that you get this kind of feeling of what Margaret Douglas wasn't just what she did in her life, but who she was as a person and their likability as a person. And you can't help but stop and reflect and think, oh, I think I'll be friends with that. Oh, no, I don't. So for me personally, I think I'd actually be friends with Anne Boleyn. But reading this one, I don't think I'd get on very well with Margaret Douglas. But that is the ability of a great writer, to have that influence on you, on thinking, would I actually be friends with someone that was alive 500 years ago? To be honest, the main thing what I love about this is Margaret Douglas is someone who, at the Tudor court, was very much at the forefront a lot of the time. I mean, sometimes she did take a bit of a back step, but a lot of the time she was there, she's present, sometimes she's next in line, as I've already said. So she's a very fascinating woman, and it's really interesting that Alison has really jumped on the bandwagon of writing about a woman who should have had loads of books written by her by now. I mean, we are fascinated with the Tudor period. I mean, certainly here in Britain anyway. I don't know about other countries. Let me know if you're not from Britain. Let me know if your country is equally as fascinated with the British Tudor period. We are absolutely fascinated with the Tudors, and what Alison's done really well, she's jumped on that bandwagon and she's given us something really new, something interesting, something more to learn about, but about the period in which we love. And of course, if it's a period in which we love, we get that familiarity and we can really just soak in all the information about Margaret herself. So that is my review of Alison Weir's The Lost Tudor Princess. I really enjoyed it. There's nothing more I could say. I thought it was really very good. As I said at the beginning, if you're interested in getting yourself a copy, I'll leave a link for it down in the description bar below. If you have any questions about the book, if you've read it, let me know what you think. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it, because I certainly enjoyed it and I hope other people did too. So that is my video for today. I hope you enjoyed it. Please subscribe if you're new to my channel and you like videos about books and history and vintage, and I shall see you soon for the next video. Take care, bye!